now my pleasure to introduce our JD speaker, Jared Cohen. Before coming to BU Law, Jared graduated from Cornell with a degree in history, then worked in Washington, D.C. on the staff of Massachusetts Congressman Mike Capuano. During his time at BU Law, Jared competed in moot court, winning the Albers competition as a 2L, and representing BU at the ABA's National Appellate Advocacy Competition. He served as an editor on the Law Review, which this January published his note entitled "The Commonwealth's Right to Honest Services, Prosecuting Public Corruption in Massachusetts." Jared also participated in the criminal clinic where he defended both adult and juvenile clients in court. After graduation, Jared will join the litigation department of WilmerHale in Boston. Please welcome Jared Cohen.
Thank you. Dean O'Rourke, esteemed faculty and staff, and my fellow law graduates. I want to thank you all for giving me, someone with no particular wisdom to impart whatsoever, the chance to speak to you this morning and to share the stage with the Solicitor General of the United States of America. This is obviously a very momentous occasion for all of us. Solicitor General Verrilli has come all the way from Washington to join us, and Adrian Tagdiri has come all the way from Los Angeles. It truly is a great honor to be here, and I will do my best to follow the other distinguished and excellent speakers who have come before me, but I can really only promise you one thing. I don't think I've plagiarized the speech. We must, of course, thank all of the proud families and friends who have gathered here to support us, as they have every step along the way. And I'm guessing that everybody in this room has had the chance, at some point or another, to spend time and speak with a law student in the middle of his or her legal education. If you haven't, you probably are in the wrong ceremony. But if you have, I just wanted to first of all say I'm so sorry. I'd like to apologize on behalf of all of our kind. But if you have gotten to endure that, then you might have learned a thing or two about us law students. For example, you might have learned that a note can actually be something quite a bit more than something you scribble down on a Post-it. You probably have also learned that one of the things we law students like to do most is to complain. It's true. We complain about our lack of sleep and our busy schedules, about huge expensive textbooks, and overbearing professors, even if those professors may or may not be the best in the nation according to the Princeton Review. We complain about bad weather and mounting debt, and about how much better off the world would be if only our judges and politicians were half as smart as we are. Here at BU, of course, we also love to complain about going to school in a building that looks like a charming collectivist housing block for Soviet laborers in 1980s Leningrad. Or, as some others have eloquently described it, a 17-story utility basement. And finally, we do sometimes complain about the wonderful, truly wonderful building and construction project that looks to be completed just in time for us to be long gone. But none of that today, because today we're graduating and moving on to bigger and better things. We're moving on from being law students to being lawyers, if you skip for a moment that whole bar exam thing. So rather than dwell on our complaints and grievances today like practiced law students, it seems more appropriate as newly anointed lawyers to instead focus on how great we all are. Seriously though, since I should probably begin to transition from the facetious to the sincere at this point, I think it's worth taking a moment to recognize and acknowledge just how lucky we are in this moment now, despite all the real obstacles ahead, to be going off into the community as lawyers with degrees from this great university. We're not lucky because we're guaranteed any minimum of success, or fame, or fortune, because we're not. We're lucky because, like it or not, we are going to be entrusted with navigating and even making the rules that our society lives by. We're going to be expected to do great things, whether or not we ever set out to. And people are going to rely on us, whether or not we ever even ask them to. Most of all, we're lucky because we've actually been given the tools to justify that trust, expectation, and reliance. And we have the opportunity to use those tools. Now, I know we each came to law school for different reasons, and we've spent our 3 years in amazingly different ways. And while I think it's fair to say that we each still have at least some interest in the law, it's obvious that we're going to pursue careers on diverse and divergent paths. Very soon, our friends and classmates are going to be prosecutors and public defenders, corporate counsels and litigators, law clerks and business people, politicians, lobbyists, and public interest advocates, defenders of the powerful and defenders of the little guy. In all of these roles, in public service and in our private pursuits, we will have an impact. We will inevitably influence the circles which we inhabit. And in that modest, incremental way, whether we intend to or not, we will change our society, for better or for worse. Now, there's no doubt that life occasionally presents extraordinary crises and terrible trials that we can only do our best to be prepared for. We learned that only too well recently with the terrorist attacks that cut through the heart of our city and our BU community. But the fact is, those occasions are rare. More likely, and certainly more often, the trials we face will be ordinary and relatively small. When we undergo them day after day, they might seem tedious or trivial. So, how should we respond to these challenges, the great ones and the small ones that we'll face every single day? Now, it's common in our generation sometimes to be cynical and ironic, to be detached and removed from events going on around us, to be sarcastic and to mock. We all do it. And I'll certainly grant you, it's easy to be cynical about a lot of things these days. Often it's warranted, and often it just helps us get through it all. But I think we need to fight the urge to be cynical about our professional lives in the law. We won't always be able to move mountains and change the world. That doesn't mean we should give up on the small fights, the everyday battles. The subtle incremental change that we are going to make, that's something, and it could even be everything. We cannot let our observations of cynicism in others allow us to debase ourselves and demean our ambitions. We have our own standards to live up to. As lawyers, we must accept the challenge of engaging the world as it is, both on its terms and also on our own. When we face up to the complexities and ambiguities that the real life will present every day, we may concede, we may compromise, and we should. But we cannot surrender to circumstances and give up the challenge of staying engaged and staying involved in the things that matter. I know we didn't reach this point and work as hard as we've all worked to get here, just to choose a path of least resistance. We did it so we could control our own lives and destinies. We can only achieve that through continued commitment and sincere effort. Because the moment we tune out, disengage, and sarcastically scorn our surroundings, we lose the power to shape them. And that is the path that we should most fear to go down. Looking out at this incredible, truly incredible group of people that I've gotten to know over the past 3 years, I feel like we're still all in something together, something important. We're a group of people who have conquered one set of challenges, only to be rewarded with a whole set of new challenges. And it's a little daunting because we're never done, we're never in the clear, but that's okay, because I, for one, would rather be in the action anyway. And what further reassures me is that I know most of you feel the same way. So none of us will be in it alone. We have our friends and our alumni for support if we use them, and we should. And so as we take a break today to celebrate a very real and very proud achievement, I'm confident as I think about our ability to face the challenges that will present themselves tomorrow and the next day and every day after that, because I know that we are all up to the task. Thank you.